Everything started with a quiet decision made far away from Africa. In the United States, top officials held a closed meeting. The discussion was not long, but it was serious. The issue on the table was Nnamdi Kanu and the growing pressure around his continued detention. Reports had reached Washington that some powerful figures were strongly against his release, no matter how many court orders or public demands were made. Donald Trump was involved in earlier talks with these figures. During those talks, Tinubu, Sheikh Gumi, and the lawyer connected to Kanu's life sentence were firm in their position. They said clearly that Nnamdi Kanu must never be released. They did not ask for time. They did not suggest a review. They insisted that even if Trump demanded Kanu's freedom again and again, nothing would change. This position did not sit well with Trump. He believed the case had gone beyond law and entered the area of punishment without end. He warned them that refusing to listen to legal pressure and international concern would lead to serious consequences. However, they did not change their stand. They believed their power at home was enough protection. After those talks ended, Trump made another move. He ordered a full review of the situation. American officials studied the case carefully. They looked at the court process, the sentence, and the refusal to obey repeated calls for release. They also examined the influence of those involved and how they used their power. The conclusion was clear to them. They believed that justice was being blocked on purpose. They believed that certain individuals were using their positions to make sure Nnamdi Kanu remained in prison for life, without any chance of freedom. Once that conclusion was reached, Trump gave a direct order. He said the United States would act. He said it was no longer just a local issue. In his view, it had become an international matter tied to human rights and abuse of authority. The decision was not announced publicly. There was no warning. The order was simple: move fast and do not allow interference. The USA Army prepared immediately. They were told exactly who their targets were. Tinubu was listed first. Sheikh Gumi was listed second. The lawyer who played a key role in Kanu's life sentence was listed third. The mission was not to debate or negotiate. It was to arrest and secure them. The army units traveled directly from the United States. There were no long stops and no public statements. The goal was speed and control. Within a short time, they arrived and began the operation. Tinubu was taken into custody first. There was no public drama. The soldiers followed their orders strictly. He was informed of the reason for his arrest, which was tied to his role in blocking justice and refusing repeated demands related to Nnamdi Kanu's case. Sheikh Gumi was arrested soon after. The accusation against him was his influence and support for the decision to keep Kanu imprisoned without review. The army stated that influence does not remove responsibility. According to them, words and pressure can carry as much weight as direct action. The lawyer was the last to be arrested. His role in sentencing Nnamdi Kanu to life imprisonment was placed under heavy scrutiny. The claim was that the sentence was pushed beyond legal fairness and turned into a tool for permanent punishment. The army made it clear that being a lawyer does not give immunity when justice is abused. All 3 arrests were completed without delay. There were no witnesses invited and no public explanation given at that moment. The USA Army made it clear that this was an enforcement action, not a media event. As soon as the arrests were done, they were moved under tight security. American officials released a short statement later. It said the operation was carried out because repeated warnings were ignored. It also said that no one, regardless of position, is allowed to openly reject justice and expect no response. Behind the scenes, it was known that Trump felt personally challenged by the earlier talks. He believed he was disrespected when his demands for Kanu's release were dismissed so easily. More than that, he believed that allowing such refusal would send a message that power is stronger than law. Chapter 1 ends with one clear point. The arrests were not random. They were the result of firm resistance, ignored warnings, and a final decision by Trump that action was the only language left. The arrests did not stay quiet for long. Even though the operation was done without public display, news traveled fast. Within hours, leaders across Africa were talking about it. Phones rang non-stop. Emergency meetings were called. Everyone wanted to understand what had just happened and what it meant. Many African leaders were shocked. Some were confused. Others were angry. The idea that the USA Army could come from the United States and arrest powerful figures from another country created fear and tension. People began to ask hard questions about power, sovereignty, and justice. Among the first to speak openly was William Ruto. Ruto addressed the issue with a firm tone. He said the action taken by Donald Trump crossed a serious line. According to him, no country, no matter how powerful, has the right to arrest a sitting president or national figures from another nation. He said Africa must not allow foreign powers to act as global police. Ruto said leadership must be respected. He said every country has its own courts, its own laws, and its own way of handling issues. He argued that even if there are disagreements, they must be solved through dialogue, not force. He warned that if such actions are accepted, no leader would feel safe again. He said today it is one country, tomorrow it could be another. He described the arrests as dangerous and unfair. His message was clear: Trump had no legal or moral right to take that step. Many leaders quietly agreed with Ruto. They did not speak loudly, but their concern was clear. They feared a future where strong nations could step into weaker ones and act without consent. However, not everyone shared this view. Ibrahim Traoré took a completely different position. When Traoré spoke, his words were calm but sharp. He said the focus should not be on who made the arrest, but on why it happened. He said leaders must first look at their actions before blaming others. Traoré said Nnamdi Kanu's case had become a symbol of injustice. He said repeated calls for review and release were ignored. He said court processes were treated like jokes, and the voices of the people were silenced. According to Traoré, Tinubu failed to act as a true leader. He said a president who cannot give a clear order to correct an obvious wrong has already lost control of his authority. He said power is not about holding people down, but about knowing when to fix mistakes. Traoré openly supported Donald Trump's action in this story. He said Trump stepped in because African leaders refused to act. He said when leaders protect themselves and their allies instead of justice, outside pressure becomes inevitable. He added that sovereignty should not be used as an excuse to protect injustice. He said sovereignty means responsibility, not freedom to abuse power. His words made many uncomfortable, but they also forced people to think. As reactions continued, African media became divided. Some outlets described the arrests as an attack on Africa's dignity. Others described them as a wake-up call. Debates filled television studios and radio programs. Citizens argued in markets, offices, and homes. Some people said Trump was wrong, no matter the reason. Others said Tinubu and those around him pushed the situation too far. They said ignoring every demand for Nnamdi Kanu's release created the crisis. Religious leaders also spoke, but with caution. Some urged calm and peace. They warned that anger could lead to chaos. Others said justice delayed is justice denied, and silence in the face of wrongdoing is also a sin. Behind closed doors, many leaders worried about one thing. They wondered if this event would change how power works in the world. They wondered if leaders who refused to listen to their people could now face international action. Ruto continued to push his message. He called for unity among African nations. He said Africa must speak with one voice against foreign interference. He insisted that even flawed leaders must be dealt with internally, not arrested by foreign forces. Traoré responded indirectly. He said unity without justice is empty. He said protecting leaders just because they are leaders is the reason people lose faith in government. He said true unity begins with fairness and accountability. The division became clear. Two ideas stood against each other. One side believed in full protection of national leaders at all costs. The other believed that leaders must answer for their actions, even if it brings outside involvement. By the end of Chapter 2, Africa was no longer just reacting to arrests. It was facing a deeper question. Should power protect leaders, or should justice protect the people? The answer was not clear. But one thing was certain. Nothing would remain the same again. After the arrests and the strong reactions across Africa, the world waited for one thing. People wanted to hear directly from Donald Trump. Many expected anger. Others expected silence. What came instead was a firm and carefully chosen message. Trump spoke calmly. He did not shout. He did not insult anyone. He said the situation had reached a point where silence would have meant support for wrongdoing. He explained that his decision was not sudden and not emotional. According to him, it was the result of long observation and ignored warnings. He said Nnamdi Kanu's case was not just about one man. He said it represented a system where power was used to block justice. He said when leaders refuse to correct clear wrongs, they send a dangerous message to their people and to the world. Trump said he had spoken many times about Kanu's situation. He said he asked for dialogue. He said he asked for review. He said he asked for fairness. Each time, he said, his demands were rejected without consideration. He described this refusal as a direct challenge to justice itself. He made it clear that the arrests were not meant to punish a country or its people. He said the action was directed at individuals, not nations. He said leadership does not come with a lifetime shield from responsibility. Trump addressed the issue of sovereignty directly. He said sovereignty is important, but it does not give leaders the right to ignore basic justice. He said sovereignty should protect citizens, not silence them. He added that when leaders hide behind sovereignty to defend unfair actions, they weaken the meaning of leadership. He also spoke about fear. He said many leaders were afraid that what happened could happen to them. He said that fear should not exist if leaders are doing the right thing. According to him, honest leadership has nothing to fear from accountability. Then he spoke about power. He said power is not proven by force or control. He said true power is proven by the ability to listen and change when wrong. He said refusing to admit mistakes is a sign of weakness, not strength. Trump did not avoid the criticism from Ruto and others. He acknowledged their concerns. He said he understood why many African leaders felt threatened. However, he said respect between nations must be built on shared values, not blind protection. He said if African leaders had acted earlier, there would have been no need for outside involvement. He said the door was open for peaceful resolution many times, but it was closed by those who believed nothing could touch them. Trump then spoke directly about Tinubu. He said a president holds great responsibility. He said that responsibility includes the power to correct injustice. He said when that power is ignored or misused, leadership loses its meaning. He also addressed Sheikh Gumi and the lawyer involved in the life sentence. He said influence over people's lives must be handled with care. He said words, advice, and legal decisions can destroy lives when they are driven by bias instead of fairness. Trump stressed that the arrests were not the end of the matter. He said they were the beginning of a larger conversation about justice, leadership, and accountability. He said the goal was not revenge, but correction. He sent a message to the people watching across Africa and beyond. He said their voices matter. He said silence from leaders does not erase the truth. He encouraged citizens to continue demanding fairness through peaceful means. He also warned leaders. He said the world is changing. He said people are no longer willing to accept endless excuses. He said leaders who ignore the law and public demand will face consequences, whether from their own systems or from international pressure. Trump ended his message with a simple statement. He said justice delayed becomes injustice multiplied. He said no leader, no matter how powerful, should believe they are untouchable forever. After his words, reactions continued, but the tone had shifted. The debate was no longer only about arrests. It was about responsibility. It was about whether leaders exist to protect themselves or to serve their people. Chapter 3 closes with uncertainty. No final victory is declared. No clear ending is given. Instead, the story leaves one strong idea behind. Power may control the present, but justice always waits for its moment.